Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2026 Council meeting for the District of Metchosin. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that the Coast Salish people, specifically the Shiano First Nation, on whose territory this District of Metchosin building stands. And I'd also like to recognize our neighbor, the Sooke Nation, as well as the Pacheedaht Nation to the west. We recognize and respect our First Nations governments and partners, all of whom have a long-standing tradition and relationship with the land, the sea waters that continue to this day. So Council, we have an agenda before us with the addition of the late items. Go ahead, Councillor Shooken.
Mayor Little, I wish to provide a notice of motion at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you.
I think at the end of the...
End of the meeting.
Right.
And if you want to go ahead and move the motion to approve the agenda with the supplementals, moved by Councillor Shooken, second by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next we have two presentations. There's two delegations this evening. First of all, we have the Westshore RCMP introducing our new superintendent, Terry Gillespie. Welcome, Superintendent Gillespie.
So thank you very much for the introduction. Allow myself to introduce myself. I just arrived February 2nd in the Westshore. Very honored to be able to take on the officer in charge role at such a prestigious detachment. I just came from Nanaimo, where I was stationed for 6 months before coming down island. Prior to that, I was in Terrace for 3 years. Prior to Terrace, I was in Smithers for 3 years. Prior to that, I was in Haida Gwaii for 3 years. All three of those posts, I was a detachment commander or officer in charge. And then prior to that, I was in Burns Lake for 3 years. And then I was in Squamish for 7. So did a giant circle around the province, and glad to finally be back on the island where I grew up. In the month and a half that I've been at the detachment, I've been really impressed by the staff that we have at the detachment. Incredible team of police officers and support staff that are working at the Westshore detachment. So as much as I'd love to take credit for this annual report, all the credit is due to the hard workers at the Westshore detachment. So without further ado, I'll get into the annual report. So we are ending the 2025 annual performance plan. Since we're a federal agency, we go off fiscal year, which ends March 31st, and the new fiscal year will begin April 1st. So we are going to have a QR code at the end of this presentation. It's also posted on the Westshore website, where you can scan and provide input into annual performance plan priorities for the coming year. For the councillors, I'll ask that you provide any of your priorities to the mayor, as I will be asking the mayor specifically for the Metchosin priorities and having her sign off on those come April 1st, approximately. So for 2025, our priorities were reducing property crime, reducing organized crime and drug trafficking, mental health, crisis and response teams, enhancing road safety, and deterring youth crime. Brief overview here, lots of statistics. And again, this report is available online, so I won't try and give you death by PowerPoint, but we did have 26,000 calls for service. Busiest month was August, no surprise there. Summer is always busier than the winter. 719 reports to Crown Council, so 667 adults and 52 youth. I do like this chart. It does show the contribution of resources into the integrated Westshore model, and then the actual use of those resources. And I myself was surprised that the numbers match within a percentage. So does show that the model is working effectively right now, and that the resources being paid into the integrated model are also the resources being used. Just a few stats there on the priority of calls. So 1,991 priority one, very urgent calls. So definitely keeps the members on their toes. Top 5 criminal offenses: shoplifting, assault, mischief, cause of disturbance, and theft. And so actually of those file types, well, as you can see, quite a few of them are related. Uh, 1,415 persons offenses. That was an increase from 2024. So definitely something we want to keep an eye on going into this next fiscal year and the next performance plan. Overview briefly of some of our units. We're very lucky to have a full-time bike unit, a full-time mental health unit, which partners with nurses from Vancouver Island Health. And new this year was the cybercrime and fraud section. So that's a new unit that the detachment has. Here we break down some of the more serious offenses: assaults, firearm offenses, forcible confinement, and robbery. Fairly low numbers, but again, something that we'll be focusing on in the coming year. Just a couple investigations of note. We did get a conviction in a Colwood shooting. One of the first ones in which the court actually noted a link to organized crime from India. So a first in the province and being led by Westshore. So we're really proud of that investigation. We obviously also had a shooting investigation that was targeted, so very labor-intensive investigation there, as well as a youth stranger sexual assault. What's notable here is that it was a stranger sexual assault, but within 24 hours of the incident being reported, an arrest was made. So tremendous work by the team there to get that person into custody. So property offenses are up approximately 10% from the year before, and drug offenses are down approximately 12.8% from the year before. Again, in the reporting period was the time of decriminalization. Of course, starting this year, drugs have been recriminalized again, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that statistic reverse. Traffic enforcement. Since arriving in Westshore, this is probably one of the things I've heard mentioned the most as far as our coming annual performance plan. I think all the communities are interested in traffic enforcement. It seems to be a hot button topic, so I would not be surprised to see it on our annual performance plan again for the coming fiscal year. So, of course, police work is a lot more than just enforcement or forwarding charges, and really impressive stats, at least in my view, as far as the amount of restorative justice files. So 61 files referred to restorative justice over the last year, which was really tremendous to see. And again, $3,365 in restitution and 305 hours of volunteer work out of those files. So we do have a full-time community and an Indigenous policing unit, and they are also our youth officers, and they're in the schools. They investigated 110 files, almost all of which involved youth. So some people think, oh, youth section, they're not busy. That'd be, the place to be in the detachment. They actually are one of the busier units in the detachment. So out there doing a lot of school attendances and community events as well. So here's the QR code. It is available on our website if anyone wants to go on there and provide us with feedback for 2026. And that's it. I'll open it to questions.
Okay, thank you, Council. You've seen the report in your package as well as the presentation. Does anybody have any comments? Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed reading all the stats and the changes and what's happening here in Wet'suwet'en as well. I have two questions. One, are we still following the COP-to-POP model for staffing for each member municipality?
It's really up to each municipality to determine what ratio they wish to use for their police models. Right now, the cop to pop is fairly even amongst all 4 municipalities that contribute to the detachment. And my suggestion is that it's definitely one of the measures I would recommend including when we look at staffing levels. And it's something that can be evenly applied across all municipalities.
Thank you. And the second question, the school liaisons, can you express to us and for the people in the room this evening the benefits of having school liaisons?
Absolutely. It's a huge benefit to have, a police officer interacting with students and someone that students can learn to trust and therefore can report issues to. I always advocate for our officers, not just the youth section, to be out in community on foot outside of a patrol car. There's numerous studies that show when you're in the patrol car, it's a lot more intimidating for the public to come up and talk to you and actually express their concerns to you. And it's the same thing with youth and being in the school. If they actually know you, they're more likely to actually bring problems to you so that we can stop those problems from growing into something more significant. And then unfortunately, a very stark reminder this year out of Thunder Ridge as to the importance of having police in schools. So yeah, we're really sad, but unfortunately, a stark reminder of another purpose of having police in our schools.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Shukin.
Thank you, Mayor Little. One thing, Superintendent Gillespie, you might want to talk into the mic, just for people at home. So 2 questions, I think. So I believe it was last year, maybe, that there was a new mental health unit that was brought into the Westshore. Am I recalling properly? And just wondering if you're aware, and I know you're just new, but how that has gone over the last 12 months from what you can glean?
Yeah, the feedback that I've gotten in my brief time in the detachment is that it's a tremendous asset. The frontline members speak very positively about the unit and just the ability for them to take the load off the front line, whether it's waiting with a mental health patient to the hospital for 6 hours, allowing the frontline member to get back onto the front line to do policing, but also having that expertise with the nurse from Vancouver Island Health. A lot of times we're able to determine, actually this person doesn't need to be apprehended. We don't need to tie up hospital resources with this individual. And then on the other side, where we do determine they need to go to the hospital, that process goes a lot smoother when we've had the mental health nurse already make an assessment to be able to deliver that to the hospital staff. So okay. I think we're seeing tremendous benefits from that unit.
Great. One other question. And I appreciate with this next question, you're probably limited in what you can provide, but I just wanted to, again, your short time here, your sense of organized and gang-related crime on southern Vancouver Island and in the Westshore, in the sense of like on the decline, on the rise, anything you can give us around that?
Things always ebb and flow, and I'd say right now we're in a good position. But I think it's well known that there's an outlaw motorcycle gang that's trying to establish a presence on the island, which is in direct conflict with an established outlaw motorcycle gang. And just through some recent enforcement activities, they are here on the South Island. So unfortunately, that's one of those things that could blow up at any time. I'd say right now we're in a pretty good spot, but the intel would suggest that we may be headed into a period of conflict. So, yeah.
Councillor Gray.
Thank you. Thanks, Superintendent Gillespie, and welcome aboard. Thanks for the presentation. I wondered about the question of setting priorities. I don't have a sense of what the policing priorities should be in Metchosin. I've lived here for quite a while, but it's not evident to me, or I don't run into crime on a regular basis or the kind of problems that you've just described. Is there a possibility that you might provide us Metchosin specific numbers and then maybe suggest to us what the priorities would be from a policing perspective, and then we could respond to that? that would be a big help to me as compared to blue skying it. I guess I have my views, but I'm not sure they're accurate or based on any kind of real life evidence.
Absolutely. What I'll probably do is I'll send them to the mayor for distribution to the entire council, if that works for you guys.
Through the chair, thanks kindly.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much for appearing at our Machosen Day, the Parisian Cafe. Anytime we've asked you to come to events, you've been obliging to send officers. I think it's great for community members that are paying for the service, that they see our members in the community. I just have one question regarding the mental health unit. That was almost a couple of years ago, now that the Westshore is teaming a nurse with an officer in their duties. And there was talk at the time that said, this is great, but we really need 2 of these mental health scenes. Where are we with that? And I know budgets are tight, but I just wanted to advocate for that as well.
Yeah, so we do have 2 teams now. I was actually not aware that it only used to be 1, but right now there's 2 teams, 2 nurses, 2 members on the road, and they work alternating shifts. So there's 7-day-a-week coverage right now.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Welcome to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, next, the second delegation is the proposed industrial rezoning 3659 Shore-Sooke Road, presentation by Rachael Sansom of Grayland Consulting Limited. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for having us this evening. It was very much appreciated. As noted, my name is Rachael Sansom. I'm a private land development consultant. I'm also here this evening with our landowner, Mr. Brian Baker. So we're really here to seek some feedback. We don't have an application in place right now. Certainly, we've been tossing this idea around for a few years now, and we have had a certain level of interest from the community, but we are really looking for an opportunity to work together with staff, council, and the public to see if there's any interest in moving forward with industrial uses in general in the Shore-Sooke Road corridor. So this particular property is a good example of an opportunity for light industrial in Machosen. It's 132 acres in total. As you can see, there's a significant amount of green space, riparian areas, and wetlands on the property that would be protected. It does span Shore-Sooke Road, the final triangle on one side, and then the larger portion to the south. So certainly an opportunity for an increased tax base with any sort of industrial rezoning. Currently, as a residentially zoned parcel, as one lot, it generates around $4,500 a year in municipal taxes. If zoned as bare land light industrial, that could increase to $150,000 a year. And if built out to its full potential, could go up to $1.5 million a year if 60% of that site were developed as light industrial. And certainly part of this, as noted, would be important parkland acquisition and preservation of green spaces and riparian areas. Riparian areas are provincially protected, and we previously made commitments to the Bilston Watershed Enhancement Group to work with them on protection of Martin Brook in the frontage as well as its tributaries. And any industrial practices, which should certainly be protected by covenant, would include stormwater management, green building standards, and alternative power sources, and which could be explored, as well as emergency access linking Highway 14 to the Neil Rose residence, which has been needed for some time. Certainly, the parkland dedication would be covenanted for no disturbance, as well as Martin Brook and tributaries, wildlife corridors to be maintained. We're very mindful of Aquifer 606. The current well on the property is for residential use only. Any other uses would require a water license through the Water Sustainability Act and provincial regulation. Again, stormwater management plans would be required for development applications to make sure that stormwater was sensitively managed, and development permits, if applicable, would occur phase by phase. And that could apply to the environment, aquifer, and form and character of the development. So, of course, we'd be looking at environmental impact and riparian studies, all to provincial standards, aquifer protection, grading and road work with our professional engineers working with staff, and traffic impact assessment. Access is to Shore-Sooke Road, which is monitored and controlled by the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. They would have to approve any accesses. We do have a future access out to, I believe it's Woodrush Road. That would be negotiated as part of future phases because we understand the current access would be limited. That also would be a conduit for future CRD water connections, so we wouldn't be reliant on the aquifer for water. So also including landscaping and visual screening from Sooke Road and an environmental or economic impact assessment to see the industrial needs and employment opportunities that this could bring in this corridor, not just this property, but the whole area. So certainly an official community plan amendment would be required to rezone for the light industrial use. Some of the uses we're talking about is soil recycling, storage, and screening. We could participate with your public works program to share resources and reduce trucking costs, and that would equate to some savings again for the municipality. Having a private contractor works yard, storage facilities, and other uses that we talk about through the process and see what would be appropriate here. Again, looking for advice from council, staff, and the public on what could be possible on this property and others in the area. And certainly doing robust consultation and coordination with neighbors and local groups, including public houses and public hearings. So myself and the owner are here if you have any questions for us this evening. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Council, perhaps you have some clarifying questions for Ms. Sansom. I just wanted to start by saying, as I understand from staff, the application process is underway. The district, there has been preliminary meetings with the planning, your planning group and the owner, the agent and our staff. The district planner is awaiting a fulsome and complete application package with site plans, details, technical reports, evaluations, community engagement, and rezoning request. And the planner will bring the application to a committee of the whole meeting with planner's evaluation on the complete application accompanied by the planner's recommendations. The next step would be after that would be determined after the committee of the whole meeting, if more information is required, or if it was going to be taken to a council meeting. And then, of course, rezoning requires legislative bylaw approval process. So, council, does anybody have any questions, clarifying questions for Ms. Sansom or the owner? Councillor Gray.
I just wondered, Mayor Little, I gather the proponent brought forward an application some time back, you know, when the bufferland was being discussed for sale to the CRD, when you were part of council. And can you fill us in some context? It didn't go forward at that time, and I thought it was all kind of tied together, the sale of the bufferland, a variety of properties coming together to create a corridor there. Anyway, it didn't go forward, and can you give us a bit of a thumbnail on why that was?
Yeah, as I remember it, and I'm seeing Rachael questioning that, the sale of the bufferland and this section 38 are two totally separate issues. As Rachael can fill you in on this, but there's been many applications that have advanced forward. Some have been withdrawn, some have been denied. I think there was one of each in the last term. Perhaps, did you want to speak to that, the many different applications that have come forward in terms of a teacup or a tup or a rezoning application? Go ahead, Rachael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate that. And to clarify, yes, we do have an application in, but we haven't pursued all the myriad of reports and exercises we need to move it along. So it's a little stalled right now because we did want to gauge, interest in having a robust process and meeting with everybody to move it forward. We originally started out, and I can't remember the year now, but it was before COVID. So we did apply for a temporary use permit to do a screening process, which would be to bring materials on the site and screen them and recycle different kinds of materials. It was going to be a very good and helpful project, and that we were able to provide materials to the District of Metchosin as well. But ultimately, I believe we didn't choose to go forward with that at the time because we felt it was not going to be approved. And then we have tried a few other rezoning models in the past that, again, we just weren't feeling that they were supported. And that's a big part of the reason why we're here today, because we really genuinely feel that there is a benefit to the community, but we never really got to that part of the exercise. And, we understand the myriad of reports and things that are needed. It's typical. I work in every jurisdiction on Vancouver Island, and I know what we need to do to advance it. What we don't have is a feeling that, industrial can and could be a worthwhile part of the community. And we really want to get to that part and have those conversations before doing the technical stuff, because we know what to do with that. We know what they're going to tell us, and we know how that's going to model what is permitted on the site. It's more, is there a willingness to pursue this idea? Because we're happy to do all that background work. So again, that's kind of why you've seen us stop and start, because you're like, oh, you're not going to have any support. Let's just wait and see. So we believe there's a great opportunity here for the district. Sooke Road is offline, as it were, and we think we can be a good corporate citizen, believe it or not, for Chosen, and bring some benefits to the community as well.
Perhaps what Councillor Gray was also alluding to, according to the current zoning of this property, the property owner would have the ability to do a straight subdivision, which would not come to council. That is certainly within their rights as it is right now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. They do understand that that's an option.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Shore-Sooke.
Thank you, Ms. Sansom, for your presentation. I get the sense you're maybe looking to us for some direction tonight, thoughts and input, I suppose, but I'm really struggling as to what I can offer you, because the information you brought us is really general. And especially when you're talking about environmental benefits, but also terms like green industrial practices. And I'm of the mind that if you're bringing those type of terms forward, it should be really specific in terms of what you're proposing. But also too, what's really important as in consideration of this is the reputation and record of the proponent, and that proponent's ability to actually follow through on commitments, and their experience in doing environmental, or what you call green industrial practices. So as we go ahead, that is something that's going to be very critical in terms of my assessment if I get a chance to have a look at this further. So
thank you. And again, through the chair, we really appreciate that, and we understand that this property it has a history prior to this person owning this property. And we did agree in the past to do what we call a clean hands policy. This owner is understanding, the benefits, obviously, of having the zoning, but also that in Metchosin, it needs to come with community benefit as well. And willing to work with people, but we've never really had the chance to get there with the community and see what we can offer. There's a lot of great technology out there for light industrial. There's, like we say, the soil recycling actually saves a lot of trucking. It saves mining materials, and Metchosin can benefit from that. There's all kinds of green building technology, stormwater management, and other environmental benefits that we can work through and look at. And again, hopefully drawing from the community for some ideas. So we really want to be able to get to that point. Certainly I can give you a list of things that sound good, but we hear from the community, it's important. And we can secure all that on title with covenants to say you don't get a building permit or a development permit until you tick these boxes. So I think Metchosin has the controls. They can tell us how they want this property to develop.
Just two more questions. I struggle with the concept of Metchosin has the controls. We're a very small municipality. My experience over the last 4 years, 8 years, is that enforcement has been a big issue for us. Even when things are in clear view and there can be egregious issues out there, it is still a struggle. So that one, I think, is going to continue to be, and again, like you say, there has been a history on this property that is that is dogging you still. So one specific question, you asked, or sorry, mentioned alternative power sources. What could that be?
This property is very well positioned for solar, for example. It's south facing. The roofs of, for example, mini storage would be a great option. Great roof exposure. Some of it could be off grid. Certainly, it'd be supplemented. But these are more of the items we'd like to explore and find out what would be appropriate here for whatever uses are deemed appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. In your presentation, you've already answered a few of my questions. with various levels of financing would be one of them. Our OCP is pretty clear about protecting the rural character of our community. And how do you see that fitting in with this project?
Thank you again, and through the mayor. This will be working with the community to find out what activities would be needed and approved here. Things like form and character, screening activities from the highway and from other vistas if they are to be seen, and providing services that are of benefit to the community. So by rural character, I guess it wouldn't deflect from the rural character. Shore-Sooke Road is not driving down Happy Valley Road to get there. You don't see it. So, and again, form and character, if it's a mini storage, why don't we make it look like barns? Or, can we provide services to the community that would enhance the rural flavor of the community? So again, those are the ideas we're looking for.
Okay. And this site is within the Bilson watershed, which meanders through Metchosin, affecting various fish-bearing streams. How are you going to ensure that there's no impact to the groundwater or the creek?
Thank you, through the chair. Certainly, we have worked with the Bilson Association previously and made a commitment to work with them on enhancements and protection. This is protected, obviously, provincially by the riparian areas regulation, which everybody has to comply with. Certainly, our environmental professionals advise on how we best protect that, again, working with the local groups, maybe going above and beyond what the province would require.
Councillor Donaldson, do you have another question?
That is it for the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak at the table? Any other questions? Councillor Gray.
Could I just ask Mayor Little, what's the next steps, or how would we proceed from this point?
Yeah, so we look forward, of course, to receiving a complete application. What's next would this complete application would be a feasibility review, statements on OCP alignment, architectural concepts, environmental reports, riparian assessments, geotech studies, and traffic reviews. Of course, a major part of that would be community engagement, conduct the outreach, gather feedback, track the sentiment of the folio project, and all other details of the application preparation, the rationale drawings, and engagement reports. So all of that would go into the complete application. The planner would assess and provide us with a report, and she would assess whether the studies were enough for her to make a recommendation or not, whether their statements on OCP alignment was in keeping with what the OCP the OCP states, those kinds of things. So those would be the next steps. As I understand, the application came forward, but it was put on hold. And so the planner has said there's some incomplete documents that would be necessary for a complete application. Okay.
Well, maybe I'd ask then through the chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. I don't know if you've seen the letters that we've received about the proposal. So I think I can say there looks to be plenty of community opposition to the idea. And there may well be support, and we'll hear from folks in the room. But and the worries that I'm reading about are the proposal itself for the light industrial, the proponent, the OCP, and then the issue of riparian protections. As you said, they're already there through the province. So I just want to confirm this is a trial balloon. You've put it forward for us. And I see the tax benefit there, which is enticing. But I asked the mayor earlier, and I had some looking as best I could at previous proposals. And I see that there was a lot more there in terms of more green space and adjoining green space. And the applications were denied by the council of the day. And so the question I would have is, can you bring more to the table? Section 40, for example, was in play the last time. So more protected land and forest canopy, conservation of wildlife corridors, improving the riparian area protections. And you've just mentioned that, yes, you could go above and beyond the provincial measures. And then the whole issue that Councillor Shooken's raised, which is commitments on following the bylaws. I'm not sure how that would be done, but I think that's something that we're hearing loud and clear from residents. So those are just some starters, I guess. And you've talked about the actual uses, what they would be, and it sounds like you would like to get some information from us about what would be acceptable. And I think that would be an interesting discussion. As you say, you can see in the documents here what people are concerned about, and I think some of those concerns are shared here. But if there's an opportunity to keep talking, maybe that's what should be done.
Okay, and so I'm not sure if you misspoke, but this is section 38. You're inquiring about the adjacent section 40. Perhaps you could speak to that, Rachael.
Thank you.
Just
Madam
if
Mayor.
I may, just before, no, I haven't misspoken.
No, it's correct indeed. Previously, and we can still bring this forward. I just didn't bring it forward this evening because I was kind of focusing on the overall process. But yeah, we could have arrangements with the owner of Section 40 to acquire some of that land as parkland. I believe that's still something we can contemplate. There was a fair piece of it there, but I didn't bring that forward again. So that is there. There's lots of other opportunities to explore regarding past bylaw infractions. I mean, certainly if we open this up to a rezoning, we're kind of exposed. People are going to be here. They're going to be aware of it. And there's no benefit to not being on one's best behavior in that circumstance. And again, with regard to green space, we've set up just what we thought. There are still further environmental studies to do in more detail, but certainly the riparian and wetlands are the most obvious ones to take care of, provincially regulated as noted. And then, the uses, I could pick out 10 light industrial bylaws to show and cross out the things you don't want and add some things you do. Again, it's part of the conversation we want to start.
Anybody else? Okay, so as I mentioned, we have we'll welcome the complete application. I'll offer these observations from what we've seen tonight. There were 10 letters, very eloquently and loudly written, in opposing the concept plan, and there was one in favor. And so there's many concerns that are raised in those letters. There's also concerns that the terrain of the property is quite challenging. It may not be suited for one or two different things, as well as maybe unsuitable for recreational purposes. As Councillor Shooken mentioned, it's very difficult for us to weigh in when we want to be able to make evidence-based decisions at this table, and without a complete application, that's difficult. As you mentioned, this will have to be taken into consideration in terms of an alignment with our OCP. And as you know, the industrial portion of our OCP is less than a half a page. It's not a big component and priority in the OCP. And as you can well imagine, this would be a massive change in the land use bylaw and the OCP, and it would require considerable public engagement. I will encourage, if it does come forward, I'll encourage council members to keep an open mind, as we always do at the council table when it comes for deliberation. So thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. And if I just one last comment, we'd be happy to lead and participate in any public open houses or displays, however it needs to be done. That could certainly be on us to do. And I welcome the letters because it really gives us a checklist of things we need to focus on and things we need to address in the process. So it's not a bad thing. I really appreciate the efforts of the community in caring and showing us what we need to do in order to make this good for everybody. So that's it was good. Appreciate it. I really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have time.
If I may, just the other thing is I think it's important that as this proponent comes forward, that we respond in a timely fashion to the requests that are made. I did receive a call about that, just to say, we're not really responding to the requests for information. So if we do go to the standard process, we need to be sure that we're responding in a timely fashion.
Okay. Next on the list, we have public participation. Oh, you don't need to, well, okay. Public participation, you have 4 minutes each to speak. We're taking respectful comments only. As you'll note, there's a timer on the table. It will go green when you start speaking. You have 4 minutes. When you have 30 seconds left, it'll go yellow, and then at red, it will beep and sound. Go ahead, Ms. Whitehouse.
Patty Whitehouse, Rocky Point Road. And I want to comment that while I'm not surprised, I am pleased to see people so concerned about the community that they show up. I am not either for or against the proposal at present, but I am troubled by the suggestion that from some of the people who've been, some of the correspondents, that the proposed light industrial use is incompatible with the rural character of Metchosin. Rural communities have always hosted a variety of uses in addition to residential, agricultural, forestry, and industry. When I was growing up in North Saanich, my dad operated his machine shop out of our garage for some time. Mr. Jones down the road operated his small trucking business out of our backyard. Both are industrial uses or light industrial uses. In the present day, every rural municipality in the CRD hosts industrial uses, probably most, if not all, the rural communities on the island. Far from being incompatible with rural character, in my view, such commercial uses are part of rural character. They distinguish truly rural communities from large lot suburbs. Regarding the suggestion that subdividing the property for residential use would be better than approving commercial use, I've heard a lot of grumbling lately about the prospect of double-digit increases in property taxes this year. Commercially zoned properties are assessed taxes at a much higher rate than residential properties. Typically, taxes assessed on residential properties barely cover the cost of municipal services. I would think that anyone concerned about rising property taxes would welcome commercial development, including carefully controlled industrial development, carefully controlled note, zoning to ease the tax burden. As a side note, correspondents have commented that the property in question, and we saw on the maps here, have suffered environmental damage through misuse by previous owners. It seems to me that should council decide to permit rezoning, this could provide an opportunity. Perhaps a condition could be considered that requires the proponent to conduct their operations in the already damaged areas, reducing the impact on areas of the property that are still in their natural state.
Thank you. Next. If you could identify yourself and the road that you live on in Metchosin.
Okay, my name is Casey Porchuk, and I live on Lubon Road. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Casey Porchuk, and I'm a member of the 4-H Club. I'm here to talk about the Good Neighbor bylaw. Part of the bylaw says that animals can't produce loud or disturbing noise for over 10 minutes, which all animals do. In my experience, animals make noise lots more than 10 minutes. Many of my friends in 4-H have hobby farms with loud animals. If any of them should exceed the 10 minutes, they couldn't participate anymore, thus depriving us of our next generation of farmers. I live on a family farm and have lots of farm experience. After a chicken lays, it may cluck loudly for a long time. Sheep or sometimes dumb and can lose their lambs for long periods of time. They're very noisy in this time. Sometimes our goats jump a fence and start baaing loudly. This can't be helped. Also, just as a side point, even I who live within 50 feet of our pasture will way closer than any neighbor can. I can sleep good and barely hear them. I can't think of anyone being bothered. I also saw that part of the bylaw says there is no construction on Sunday. My dad works Monday and Friday, and we can only make coops repairs on Saturday and Sunday. This bylaw is unfairly sided against farmers, and I don't think that we can remain a farming community if we can if this bylaw is passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your enthusiasm, but here in the chambers, if you could refrain from clapping, because we want a peaceful environment for people with differing views. We don't want anybody to feel intimidated, but I do appreciate the enthusiasm for this young person. But please, no clapping or comments. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff, fellow residents of Metchosin. Good evening. My name is Dr. Jesse Pawarchuk, and I'm a longtime Metchosin resident and local farmer. I grew up here. I went to Hans Helgeson, Metchosin Elementary. I went to Belmont before having to go away for medical school. I do not question the intention behind the good neighbor bylaw. In theory, this sounds harmless, but this bylaw, broad, complaint-driven, and carrying heavy fines is not harmless here in Metchosin. It is completely and totally inappropriate for this sort of community. A law like this might work in an urban retirement community such as Oak Bay, where people expect quiet streets and manicured lawns. Metchosin is not Oak Bay. We are a working rural district with active farms, large lots, and abundant wildlife, including significant predators such as cougars, wolves, bears, and eagles. Our farmers, both those raising food for their own tables and those selling commercially, must contend with these realities every single day. To protect livestock from predators and reduce the odds of both crop and livestock loss, as well as wildlife service culling of predators, we need guard animals. Inherent to farming are early morning chores and normal farm practices that can produce noise and odor. Roosters at dawn, barking dogs doing their job, manure composting, tractors and equipment used before the heat of the day so that one can feed their animals while it's all right still in the summer. These are not nuisances, they are necessities. This bylaw turns those necessities into ticketable offenses the moment a single neighbor complains. If this passes, many residents will lose the ability to practice subsistence farming altogether. Self-reliance and food security will become privileges reserved for those who can afford expensive soundproofing, constant vigilance against complaints, and excellent legal counsel. For commercial farmers who are already squeezed by costs, this adds yet one more regulatory hammer that will force more operations to close or scale back. The result? Greater dependence on fragile international supply chains, mega corporations, and shipments of factory-intensive farmed food from all over the world. Is that really what we want? At the very moment, our climate policies are calling rightly for local low-carbon food production, not Costco and Walmart and Loblaws. This is not just bad policy, it's incoherent policy. It directly contradicts our own farming policies, our own official community plan, our own climate action goals, and the rural lifestyle the vast majority of us moved here to enjoy. People do not come to Metchosin for the urban quietude. That's Oak Bay. They come here for fields, farms, wildlife, and the freedom to raise their own food. And let us be honest about enforcement. A complaint-based system in a rural setting invites vexatious complainants. Those who move to the country but expect city rules, to weaponize the bylaw system against their farming neighbors. We've already seen it in other communities. The result is not neighborly harmony. It is division, fear, a slow erosion of everything that makes Metchosin special, and above all, a whole hell of a lot of lawsuits that we can't afford as a community. Council, Metchosin has proudly positions itself as a place that values agriculture, resilience, and rural character. This bylaw undermines all three. British Columbia's Farm Practices Right to Farm Act exists precisely to prevent this kind of regulatory overreach against normal agricultural activities, but it does not protect those who are farming for their own food rather than selling to others. And this bylaw ruins that for all of those Metchosinites. I urge you to send this bylaw back to the drawing board or reject it outright and instead pursue education, mediation, and clear agriculture-friendly exemptions that actually protect both neighbors and the working landscape that we all cherish.
Thank you. I've asked you already, please refrain from clapping or other expressions. Please don't. The reason why is because we want the chambers to be a friendly, respectful place for everybody so that, excuse me, I'm speaking, so that everybody here feels safe in this environment. There may be differing views, so please respect what I've asked for.
How about giving council a chance? How about treating council with the same courtesy?
I will clear the council if this continues. I will clear the council chambers. So please abide by the rules or I will clear the council chambers. We cannot have this back and forth, back and forth. This is a council meeting. This is public participation where everybody is allowed 4 minutes. Please be respectful. Thank you. If you could state your name and your road, please. Thank you.
Moira Horrigan, Machosen Road. I would like to express my concerns. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I would like to express my concerns over the Good Neighbor Bylaw 716, which is on the agenda tonight. Machosen is a rural community, largely composed of acreages. The bylaw should reflect this reality, not that of an urban area. For instance, restricting people from mowing their lawns after 6 p.m. on Sunday seems like an arbitrary decision. Why would council feel that is an appropriate choice for Machosen when, as an example, our rural neighbor Shore-Sooke does not appear to have this restriction? In the ticketing bylaw, number 717, that follows the Good Neighbor bylaw, the initial fine in Machosen appears to be set at $250, while in Shore-Sooke and View Royal it appears to be set at $100. What is the justification for this punitive starting point, 2.5 times that of other municipalities? About the invasive species bylaw section, 16E, invasive species are found all over Machosen, on our roadsides, ditches, parks, and private properties. Will council be funding the removal of invasives from the roadside and ditches to prevent their spread? At the council meeting of March 4th, Councillor Donaldson made several good points about the issues in this bylaw wording, that invasives are everywhere. Some people may not have the ability or finances to tackle the problem, but should they be hit again with the word punitive charges? As a senior, fighting with a very resilient Daphne, I know of these points. It takes time, energy, money, and resources to battle these invasives. And the nature of invasives is that they come back, that they are deposited on one's land, not by choice, but by wind, birds, maybe deer, and sometimes just by creeping. But they don't leave as easily. While I can easily remove objects that I've placed on my property, they will not return on their own. But I cannot so easily remove the invasives. They do return again and again and again. MISC was suggested as an organization that could help, but as a volunteer group, likely does not have the resources to work on private land, nor does that appear to be their mission. If the issue is primarily about gorse fire safety, could that be made the priority instead of issuing this bylaw that likely places many residents into immediate contravention of it? As a resident with invasive species that I have been working to remove, I would much rather see an approach that supports residents in removing these plants, perhaps something similar to the branch drop-off program, than that word again, a punitive bylaw. As representatives of Machosen's residents, please take the time to reopen this section, 16E, for discussion, or remove it to deal with it another time. Please work collaboratively with us, the residents, to reduce these invasive species. Thank you.
Thank you.
Johanna Burr, off of Pears Road. To Mayor and Council, I am a long-term resident of Machosen, and I am speaking here to express my strong opposition to any consideration of matters related to 3659 Shore-Sooke Road at this time. There have been numerous bylaw infractions associated with triax in this property. These include multiple fires involving construction waste and repeated instances of alleged illegal dumping. This history raises serious concerns about compliance, accountability, and respect to municipal regulations. Given this track record, I question why Tri-X is being allowed the opportunity to present at this meeting at all, especially if this is an attempt to bypass the regular application and review process. The integrity of that process is essential to maintaining fairness and public trust. Equally concerning is the absence of key supporting documentation. There are no geotechnical reports, planning assessments, or riparian studies provided. This is troubling, given the environmental sensitivity of the property, which includes Martin Brook and the headwaters of Metchosin Creek. These are important ecological features that require careful, transparent, and science-based evaluation. Designating a portion of the land for parkland as a negotiating tactic is misleading, as the riparian areas around the creeks cannot be developed anyway. If these areas are to be properly protected, any proposal affecting this property must proceed through the full standard application process. That process exists to ensure thorough review, expert input, and meaningful public participation, not simply a presentation at a council meeting. I respectfully ask council to consider whether it is appropriate to entertain proposals from an applicant with a demonstrated pattern of non-compliance and without the required technical information. Allowing this to proceed outside the normal process risks setting a concerning precedent. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
I'm also speaking to the, as a response to the Tri-X presentation. My name is Richard Simpson. I live at 1287 Boulder Path Road, about a kilometer up Neil Road from the Happy Valley intersection. I am part of the Friends of the Bufferland Network group. We are a volunteer group committed to preserve, protect, and restore the 113 acres of green space known as the Bufferland. This past Saturday, 18 volunteers, some of which are in this room tonight, completed their second broom clearing event of 2026, clearing hundreds of invasive broom plants. And as one of the previous, this is ongoing. We expect decades of time here cleaning this problem. The Bufferland is part of the Metchosin Creek watershed and borders Langford Center Mountain residential development and the industrial park on Sooke Road. As you know, both the industrial park and the residential development are in their early stages of development. We don't know now, and we won't know until both are fully developed and operational for some years, what the impact is on the Bufferland, the watershed, the wildlife corridors, the native plants, and the soils in the Bufferland. We've already had interest from Royal Road students who want to help us understand what the impact of residential and industrial park development is on this very special Metchosin green space will be. With that, it's our opinion that it is far too early to consider the Tri-X proposal to allow 132 acres of Metchosin land, which also includes part of the Metchosin Creek watershed, to be converted into an industrial park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Rick Perron, Challister Court, Chosen. For the district to look at the application is not an admission to showing a sign of interest. Let's be clear on this point. It's a matter of being incapable of fully comprehending the nature of the proposed industrial site. Should Mayor and Council decide to see what is exactly proposed on the application, does not mean they have an interest. They are simply following protocol. But before they go to this step, the question by Rachael Sansom was a query to see if there is support by Council to know whether the delegation should proceed. No is a simple answer. To those on Council who may say that you haven't seen the application, so you can't say no to something you haven't seen, could be sabotage. It may seem like a double-edged sword, thinking the district can't really say no to something they haven't seen. Should the district say yes, showing signs of interest can backfire in your faces as showing flexibility, interest, and encouragement, to which changing the OCP is not a flexible choice. So Be brave, follow what other councils had done before you, say no, and save our staff the pointless effort. So this is part of the correspondence, I might as well read this as well. Mayor and council have stood strong in the past to issues concerning changes to the OCP. You have been steadfast with your decisions, but by not making alterations. Please do not accept the offer by Rachael Sansom on behalf of the Tri-X group for having further discussions on changing the OCP for their plans. To quote her, "We are seeking council's honest opinion if this is worth pursuing at this time. I suggest you say no in order to not drag this out at the expense of them and Metchosin. Our lands are precious, limited, and environmentally sensitive. Regardless, that they have offered a park and green space preservation, changing the zoning for an industrial park would not be the best interest of Metchosin. Usage of the property, the suggested use, private contractor yard, unknown impact, storage facility, unknown items, soil recycling, and others to be discussed. Without overtaxing staff, I believe the current issue already is on the table. I believe that the current issues already on the table are your priorities to complete MEASC and PTASC items, Parks and Trails Master Plan, Biodiversity and Natural Assets, bylaw concerning tree preservation, covenant and park declarations concerning the buffer lands. Previous applications to change the OCP have been rejected. Please reject this appeal to change the OCP. Stand strong.
Thank you.
Heather, my name is David Brown. I live on Happy Valley Road. I'm addressing Mayor and Council to discuss the Good Neighbor bylaw. There are three problems I have so far with my reading of it. The first is when I tried to read the bylaw and discover what was changed, because staff and others have not provided any kind of line-by-line examination of what has changed. This makes it difficult to understand the changes being made. I would ask that Mayor and Council in the future ensure that such changes are clearly annotated so they're easier to understand for people with limited time. So, second issue I have is with the change in the hours that you may make noise for construction. That is problematic for me personally. I work a 9-to-5 job, so when I'm done my day at 5 o'clock during the week, I usually eat dinner, and I'm only able to eat dinner because of the support of my partner, who's doing the usual untold labor there. And that leaves perhaps an hour and a half of the new bylaw. Formerly, I would have had 4.5 hours. That's a very large difference. And I don't know if this was well thought through. I understand that 10 o'clock is pretty late for a lot of people. Maybe there's a compromise we can reach at 8:30 or 9 rather than 7. The other part, of course, is the stopping of work at 6 o'clock on Sunday. I would ask, why Sunday? Why is Sunday special? Because I'm an atheist. I don't really subscribe to the fact that Sunday is special. People of the Jewish faith, they take the Sabbath, that's on Saturday, not Sunday. So why Sunday? Why is Sunday special? So the next thing I'm going to address here is the noise from animals thing. I think there's an issue here of unclear language. We say continuously barking. What is continuous? Is me operating a skill saw for 10 minutes without stopping continuous? Yes. Is a dog barking with a 1-minute interruption 9 minutes out of 10 continuous? Some would say yes, some would say no. This leaves it up to the interpretation of the bylaw officer rather than anything more concrete than that. So I would ask that the council consider what continuous actually means, because a rooster crowing every 30 seconds for 10 minutes, is that continuous? Is that a discontinuous thing? So that's what I would ask on that front. And finally, if we're going to talk about the invasive species thing very briefly here, it's difficult to control something like broom on your property. We've been working on it for 5 years. We've reduced the amount of broom growing massively from what we started with. But every year, we get new bits of broom coming in. If we have a new baby, oh wait, we do, we may not be able to keep that broom from propagating as well because we have other obligations. Does that make us put us in violation of the bylaw? Anyway, thank you for your time, and I'm going to release the mic to you.
The problems of this bylaw. My name is Emily Bernal, Happy Valley Road, 37 to 18. Noise part. So the part about the noise is that we have chickens in our yard. There's a roosters and they crow. They crow when there's light. And the hens, after they lay their eggs, make the egg song. This, after 7 p.m., could violate all these rules, as well as the broom and blackberry problem that we have in our yard. But we're getting those under control, or at least trying to. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Judy Roper, Pears Road. I am here today to voice my concerns regarding the proposed adoption of the Good Neighbor Bylaw 2026. There are two particular points within this bylaw that I believe will negatively affect our community if they are passed. First, under bylaw number 260, section E, under prohibitions, the existing language refers specifically to dogs and states that no person shall keep any dog that, by its calls, cries, barks, or other noises, disturbs the quiet, peace, or comfort of the neighborhood. In the proposed bylaw, this has now been expanded from dog to animal, and a noise limit has been added for continuous noise lasting 10 minutes or longer. This change is deeply concerning. It places significant limitations on property owners who operate hobby farms, practice homesteading, or simply wish to produce some of their own food. Chickens cluck, sheep baa. These are normal, expected sounds in Metchosin. While they may occasionally be a nuisance, they are part of the everyday fabric of a rural farming community. Expanding this restriction to all animals risks undermining and potentially eroding this important aspect of Metchosin's culture. My second concern relates to the addition under property maintenance. The bylaw states that an owner or occupier must not allow plants to proliferate if they are identified as alien invasive species under the community charter. This list includes 55 species, such as broom and Himalayan blackberry. This requirement raises several practical and financial concerns. Broom, particularly on larger properties, is extremely difficult to control, and mandating its removal could place an unrealistic and potentially overwhelming financial burden on property owners. Himalayan blackberry, while technically invasive, is widely embraced within our community. Many residents rely on it as a free and abundant food source. Personally, I harvest and freeze these berries for my family to enjoy throughout the year. Community traditions, such as St. Mary's Blackberry Festival, also depends on these berries as part of their annual fundraising efforts. As the bylaw is currently written, any non-ALR or non-commercial farming who allow these plants to flower and go to seed could be committing an offense. This raises further questions. What about blackberry bushes growing along public roadsides? Will the district take responsibility for removing those as well? In its current form, this bylaw does not reflect the realities of living in Metchosin. Additionally, I question the district's ability to enforce these new provisions. There are already properties in Metchosin where existing bylaws are not being enforced. And Jay, you even mentioned that already today, that you're having some difficulties with that. I regularly pass a derelict corner property with visible, broken down vehicles, scattered garbage, metal debris, and multiple questionable trailers. this situation has persisted for years without action. I'm concerned that this new bylaw will not lead to a better community, but instead encourage complaints between neighbors, followed by frustration when no meaningful enforcement occurs. After reviewing the existing bylaws, I believe they are sufficient and do not require these updates. I respectfully ask the council to take into consideration the concerns raised this evening and refer bylaw number 716 back to staff for further review and information. And on a separate note,
Yeah, you're
I'm
out of
done.
time. Thank you.
Okay, I'm in favor of council looking at the Sooke.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm Terry Chapelis. I live on Machosen Road, down by the Welcome to Machosen sign. I want to address this industrial development on Sooke Road. I'm quite far removed from it, but it's going to affect us down this end of the road, and I'll tell you why. I'd like to state my opposition to this project by bringing up the gravel mart. That's the gravel business at the end of Brotherston. At the time when Royal Bay development was getting underway, the gravel mart was a small business, small enterprise, and it was supposed to stay that way. However, since it was near the Royal Bay development, nobody really enforced limiting its growth. So what happened was an endless parade of gravel trucks, substantially increasing road traffic and road noise, along with all our other road noise that we have on Machosen Road now. Machosen Road now has an overload of heavy vehicle traffic, which is adding to the additional traffic that happens when Machosen Road is used as a bypass because of Sooke Road traffic congestion and accidents. Since we live on Machosen Road, I've had to put up with the fact that it is now dangerous getting out of my driveway. New industrial development at, I can't even read my own writing here now, 3659 Sooke Road, will turn into another expanding industrial enterprise that will gradually get out of hand, as did the gravel mart, and further increase the already problematic traffic situation on Sooke Road. Sooke Road is kind of a disaster area. It has accidents, it has anxious drivers, it has a road that starts and finishes. You get 2 lanes, you get 4 lanes, so you get congestion, stop, go. Now we're going to have an industrial complex that's going to add to this. Okay? It's going to add to it. It's going to, when the road closes down, we get this extra traffic on Machosen Road. So, let's see, gravel further increased the already problematic traffic situation on Sooke Road, and by default further increase the heavy vehicle traffic, impatient drivers, and noise pollution that currently exists on Machosen Road. So again, I oppose the industrial development on Sooke Road as being detrimental to trying to keep Machosen a rural and peaceful community.
Thank you.
Samara Ballard, Machosen resident. I am speaking in favor of 3659 Sooke Road's discussion. I look forward to hearing it. I think it's important for everyone in our community to remember that we all have the right to bring a proposal to the table, and that staff and council have to give their fair consideration to them with a clear, open lens. You cannot take in past considerations because of the clean hands. I think that's unfair. So again, I'm in support of it. I am not in support of the good neighbor bylaw. I think that it seems like a dictatorship, and I don't appreciate the rules. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir Anthony, Machosen Road. There is so much to talk about tonight. I am probably the only person who wants to talk about the letter from Mayor Tobias from View Royal, just very briefly. I kind of resented it a little bit because I think that the reason the province had to create those bills, like especially 44, 47, and 13, was because municipalities, particularly urban ones, are not doing enough to increase housing. And now they want support on that from us. Well, if we have to we should not be the ones who have to deal it with. I think we've done the things we needed to do very recently, and they need to be the ones putting up more housing. I do understand that there's a lot of concern with M216, and yeah, I get that. Go ahead. I'm not really familiar with 15, but yeah, I don't support complaining about 44, 47, and 13. As for Shore-Sooke Road, I support doing something in principle, mostly because if anybody's been listening lately to CFO Creek's apocalyptic finance reports, you probably would realize we need to do something. I don't know exactly what that is. I think we need to start looking at options though. And light industrial on Shore-Sooke Road is one of the options. I think we just need to talk about whether it's the right one or not. We will know more when we talk about it and have these discussions, and hopefully kindly, because I actually have a bit of a panic attack when I see how people are already getting upset. And I think we need to be open to discussion and opinions about this and not just like make this another thing that we're all at each other's throats about, I hope. That's not for council, obviously, for everybody else. But yeah, I do think that we need to look at it. And if we do decide that's the thing to do, I hope we do it very carefully and cautiously with environmental concerns and pick the thing that's right for us. Because I think we actually do have that choice. Because land like that is kind of scarce. And I think we can be picky and we can get the best deal if we want it, if that's what we think is right for us. As for the Good Neighbors bylaw, as it stands, I don't really support it. I understand that there are reasons that this bylaw was put together, and those reasons are important, and we need to look at those things. I just feel like the way this lands is problematic. We are a community of a lot of people who, farms, obviously, a lot of hobby farms, artisans, tradespeople who've purchased land so they could do their businesses here. And that is going to make it hard for them as well. And I like that character of Machosen. I think it is what kind of makes it rural, not just the farms. So I think it's important to consider that people need to do these things. And some of those things are going to be noisy and not always pretty either. I also get that anxiety that I think a lot of people get of more reasons for people to just rat each other out, which has been happening a lot lately. And it's really unpleasant that people do that and use bylaws as an excuse to punish a neighbor they don't like or something like that. So that's the concern I would have. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As many of you know, my life's work is restoring native plants to the environment as much as I possibly can. So in doing that, I am a person who is well aware of the horribleness of trying to get rid of invasives. It is a continuing problem. I believe that, however, this proposal that's been put forth really it divides the community in a way that we just don't need at all. This is not the way to approach the problem of invasive plants. Kids in school are learning now about how important the natural environment is. And if we have activities and a community outlook that helps people in various ways to deal with invasives, whether it's in a public park or on their properties. That's a wonderful thing, but making it into something where you start having conflicts with your neighbors, and there's the feeling that is obvious tonight. People don't want to deal with the problem of invasives in this particular way. We need, as a community, to find other ways to deal with this problem. So that's my thoughts on that. Also, I have a firm opposition to this use of the land for industrial means. I think the history of these people shows that this is not a road we want to go down at all. There might be some other place, some other time where Metchosin decides that it can be part of our rural character to have some industrial development, but not for this particular place. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Rands, Taylor Road. I just, based on my experience, I just wanted to kind of clarify a couple of things. The first is that this municipality, I mean, I just want to, for people who don't know, I was elected Metchosin Council in 1987 and I retired at the last election, 2022. So when I talk about the OCP, I do know a little about what I'm talking about. The OCP reflects the fact that this municipality has always considered the possibility of industrial on Sooke Road. And the reason for that is that we felt that it was the best way possible to ensure the continuity of a sustainable rural community. And the reason for that is, with industrial, particularly on Sooke Road, is that you get maximum value for your tax money because you don't have to provide servicing. It's not like commercial, it's not like residential where you have to provide servicing. This particular application requires virtually zero servicing from the district, and yet will generate revenues that will solve the problems that Mr. Creek has been pointing out to you over and over again, and that Sarah just referred to. The OCP doesn't have to be changed much. All you really have to do when you read the OCP, which says that any kind of industrial development that benefits Metchosin and supports the rural nature of it, is already recommended. The only thing that would need to be changed to the OCP really is additions to the permitted uses, which you control. When we did the land swap, we controlled absolutely everything in perpetuity through that. We went through 13 different mechanisms to tie that property up so we knew exactly what was going to happen in perpetuity. You can do the same thing. If Brian is such a devil, then it makes far more sense to control him through a rezoning than just to leave him for you to have to continually make complaints about. But he isn't that. I mean, I've sat through a myriad of complaints. Most of them were unfounded. We were the only ones, Lisa, our CAO, to ever fine him. He's never been fined in any other municipality. He got a $1,000 fine here for doing something that he didn't even realize was something wrong. The rest of the time, we sought compliance, and he complied. He is not what everybody thinks he is. But again, even if he was, the best way to deal with it is to give him a zoning and control it. And in addition to doing that, the very first year, if you were to rezone it and let him start on his phase one, the very first year, the benefits to Metchosin would be at least $500,000 in tax reduction. And that's something that it is your responsibility, if you believe in keeping this Metchosin rural, is that you need to look at. And all that they are asking for is what is routine in every other municipality they deal with. and that's just sitting down and having a discussion. The mayor says, well, you have to apply this for this great, do this, this, and this, and this.
Thank you.
That's thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Rance. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just glad I let Mr. Rance go before me, because ditto. I'm sorry, Stephanie Longstaff, Pears Road. I lived on Shore-Sooke Road for 10 years before I moved over to this side, and I'm fully in favor of light industry for many reasons, but I won't repeat. There's a couple things I want to say here. I'll do my best to do it quickly. One of the things is about the directive for the council for this year. I was at a meeting earlier this year when Councillor Jack Gray asked for a report on the fire hall for community needs, not just the fire hall needs. And I listened to the mayor talk that down and say that that wasn't something that we really needed. And I couldn't really understand that until I read the report on our priorities for 26. This council's reports, number 1 is staff. Page and a half later, the very last thing is continue community engagement, which tells me what this council's priorities are clearly. The third thing I had to mention was on the neighbor bylaw, the good neighbor bylaw. I'm wondering if farm practices protection, because it's got the farmers are exempt, but I don't understand what the according to the Farm Practices Protection Act means. Does that mean that I'm, if I'm doing just my own thing, am I protected? Just that should be clarified, I think. And I agree with Mrs. Horgan on the invasive species stuff. That just makes no sense. I just recently exposed the back half acre of my property, and it is completely Daphne and broom. I've tried to keep it down over the years. I live by myself on 2 acres. I do what I can. I hire people when I can. But to think that I'm going to get penalized, possibly, because a neighbor doesn't like what Metchosin has all over their roads, everywhere. So until Metchosin is willing to do that, I don't think it's fair that they ask their citizens to do that. And the last thing was, we've had an EV charger over here for some time. Anybody who has an EV in Metchosin? It's owned by the municipality, from what I understand. Hasn't worked for as long as I've owned an electric vehicle, which is 3 years. It's recently been replaced by a flow charger, which I actually have in my house, but I can't use that one because it's now unregistered and I need a special card to use it. So I'd like council to help us understand how we're being a green community when one of our 2 chargers doesn't even show up on a map. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy Higgins, Arden Road. I'd like to speak to the good neighbor bylaw. 3 points that I want to mention is for construction, the timelines that are put in there. For me, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not outside at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night. I'll be on my deck or on the couch. However, I speak for all the young people, the young families who work a job. They maybe start at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and they work till 5 or get home at 6. They need to have time to be able to work on their own property. We can't put these kind of restrictions on families. We want new people, families, young people to come into Metchosin. How can they work their property? The second thing I want to speak to is the noise bylaw for animals. If somebody can tell me, I've had horses as long as we've owned our property, which is 49 years. If one horse leaves our property because they're herd animals, you can be sure the other one is going to be screaming, sometimes the whole time that other rider is out. How? Can someone tell me, can I stop that horse? I can't. It's not possible. I think these bylaws for 10 minutes, that's a ridiculous thing for animals in rural Metchosin. The last thing I want to speak on is the invasive species. We have 10 acres. We try to keep it very well manicured. We have fought broom bush from the day we arrived there, and the Himalayan blackberry bushes, and there's many others. Right across from me, the whole road allowance is covered in broom bush. Seeds come along. So until Metchosin chooses to clean up all the roadways that adjacent to other people's properties, how can these bylaws be in place? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Byron Fry. I'm on Walpole Road. I just want to thank you guys for your service in all of this tonight. I know it's probably challenging to have all the emotion against you. I probably regret saying this, but I am a noisy neighbor. And, you know, I was been a noisy neighbor for 38 years. I was born here, still live here. I'm raising my kids here. As a kid, I caused havoc for our neighbor, and she called down and complained every single day. I got on my dirt bike, went up and down the driveway. But we were the one that pulled her out of the log splitter when she got her leg caught in there. We cleared her driveway in the snow. We did everything that we needed to take care of her, as much as she hated us. It strikes me that calling this the good neighbor bylaw is like cutting down an orchard in Langford and putting houses there and calling it Apple Blossom Way. Yeah, it would be, I don't really intend to stop being a noisy neighbor, so I might get the first fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Alex Anderson, Deer Park Trail. And I'd like to speak on the so-called good neighbor bylaw you guys are trying to get through. We come out here collectively as a group to live the lifestyle of rural, which includes hobby farms. My wife has horses. We have other animals as well. So do the neighbors. I hear the neighbors rooster. I hear the dogs bark when there's something down in the park beside us. It's all part of living this lifestyle. This is not Broadmead. This is not Dean Park. And I think that this bylaw does nothing more than weaponize situations for for people that want to elicit some sort of revenge on neighbors to do their just. And I think it's totally unfair. I also think that it would be well advised for council to take a long, hard look at this and not put it through. I think that it's going to be something you're going to regret in the long run. The second thing is I'd like to address the industrial application here tonight. Metchosin needs a section of it, at least for industrial tax base. Otherwise, the potential to be forced out of here for taxes alone is a real thing for a lot of people. I don't think I've ever seen as many for sale signs in Metchosin in the 15 years that we've lived out here. It can't all be just because people want to move on to something else. I hear that it's harder and harder to pay your taxes here for a lot of people on fixed incomes. The last thing that this district needs is another tax. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name is Joan Rosenberg on Kangaroo Road. And I just thought I would mention, because it hasn't been mentioned, Forestry's Solution Initiative, that council's been asked for official endorsement. Maybe no one's mentioned it because I've got it wrong, but it seems to me that that is a request. And I just want to be sure that council doesn't endorse Forestry is a Solution Initiative, that forestry, as Andy McKinnon says, is a solution if we leave the trees standing. If we continue to cut trees, we no longer will have trees, and we will have no future income from all those trees we've cut down. It's a very short-lived suggestion, and I hope that council does not endorse this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Smith, not that Danielle Smith. I'm from Kangaroo Road. I would like to presume that this suggestion is based on everybody just wanting to make a nice, quiet, peaceful place for everyone to live in. I don't know if you've ever been at home and the kids get real quiet and you start to really get worried. That's how I feel when I don't hear the chickens. If I don't hear the birds, if I'm out in the bush and all of a sudden it gets quiet, I get scared. Where there's noise, there's life. I have lived next to railroad tracks. I have lived under flight paths near airports. I live on Kangaroo Road, and I have been blasted nearly out of my bed for almost a year. Just listening to all of the blasting with the construction and everything going on. And they don't give us a break, during different times of day. I mean, I know that there's parameters, but I mean, I feel like I'm listening to that all day long. I'll take my neighbor's barking dog, who lets us know when there's cougars around, who lets us know if there's a bear coming up. I'll listen to those goofy dogs bark all day long. That rooster, I felt so sorry for the fellow that lives on the property today because they were just going great guns all day long. They were just excited about eggs. And I mean, that rooster tells me when the raccoon gets in. That rooster tells me when there's a mink that got through the fence. Those noises are important. Just like hearing the kids outside, just like hearing the birds singing. I mean, noise is noise. There's good noise, there's bad noise. Not everybody has to like the noises to get along. You can be the noisy neighbor. I mean, if being annoying meant you don't get to be a part of the community, I'm probably on the first ship out. And yeah, other than that, I just, my kids went to Chosen Preschool, and I went to school with parents that went to Chosen Preschool. They went to Hans Helgeson. They go to these farms. They're welcomed everywhere. And that's how they learn about this community. And that's how they become welcome everywhere, not by ratting each other out or having complaints. All the teachers teach them, if you have a problem, you need to go to that person and you need to sort it out. Don't come to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kiara Kahakawila, Perry Crossroad. I have to say, so I've been out there in the cooler area. I believe it's quite warm in here. I'm just getting in here now for quite some time. And I have to admit, I am rather proud of our community for coming out tonight to speak to you about their concerns about a number of different topics. My comments are primarily going to be focused on the Good Neighbor bylaw, which I personally feel after reading it and listening to the letters, listening tonight, it's an urban solution to a perceived rural problem. And I think you need to send it back to the drawing board. There are so many things about it that do not speak to our community as we know it, that to pass it tonight is going to do a very huge disservice to the community that you represent. In regards to the application on Shore-Sooke Road, my comment to you is Rachael came here tonight to say, hey, this is in the works. What do we need to do to bring it to the table for you guys to look at? It's up to them to do the work. It's up to them to prove to this community that they can do what they say they're going to do. And it's up to them to prove to you, as you currently are at this table, that the application has merit for Metchosin. As has been stated, you hold the controls. I suggest you use them. Thank you.
Eric White, Chosen Road. I'm an offensive odor. That could be said a lot of the time. It's probably true, but I hope my neighbors aren't complaining. My point mostly that I should get would like to get across is that more rules equal more legal battles, or legal battles equal more legal fees. This Good Neighbors bylaw has tons of holes in it where the courts have already struck down multiple times using things like saying unsightly is too broad a term, unsightly premises. One person's unsightly is not the same person as another's unsightly. Just like an offensive odor, it's subjective, and subjective rules are very hard to enforce because one person's definition is not the same as another. And when neighbors are saying, well, I don't like the color that you painted your house because it's unsightly, in Hamilton, Ontario, a fellow was refused a building permit, so he painted his house 6 different colors in a whole variety of patterns, and the judge ruled that that was his freedom of expression. So these things get crazy of unsightliness. If you are going to pass Good Neighbors bylaw, please consider removing the word demonstration from 8B. I think that is not something, if people are out demonstrating and someone wants to bring that and start a bylaw complaint against demonstration or protest, it will draw us into a legal battle that's not going to be good for us.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing nobody else.
Good evening, councillors and fellow citizens. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Kim Hill. I live on Brookview, just up the road here on Billston Creek. I would just say a few words in regards to the agenda number 2B. You want me to yell? You don't want that's this early.
Yeah, just speak directly.
I will just I'll try to be. It's not my main forte here. I'm a goldsmith, not a speaker. Anyways, in regards to the page 23 on that proposal, the letter from Ms. Sansom. Please note, I respect the right for a proponent to bring an idea forward for consideration by council. However, just to refresh and remind you that after the first application from this applicant back in 2019, council did give them serious consideration. As a matter of fact, I was a member of a select committee that was appointed at the behest of Machosen. We were recruited to weigh the pros and cons of the proposal. The committee had devoted a large amount of time, months of time, assessing the benefit, cost, and risk ratios for this idea. It was determined by the committee unanimously that fiscally, culturally, and as far as environmental matters, that the community would be best served by retaining and maintaining the OCP as it stood then. And I have looked at the proposals that have come after that. I don't think anything has changed. I think that the benefit for the community is by standing by our OCP. It's going to be less expensive and less risky. I don't need to go into details about that. You've already got letters that cover that. We went into this in great depth, and that should be on the record here. Hopefully you'll be able to access the information that was gleaned at that time. So no is a no-go then. I don't see any reason for a no-go to be still the same situation. It's too risky. Maintaining the OCP is simpler. And it's the wish of the community. And be careful who you get involved with, you know? I'll leave it at that. Thank you for allowing me this last appearance here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing there's, that's it for people. Oh, one more. Okay, we'll take one more and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Wesley Ellis. I live on 3915 Gilbert Drive. This good neighbor, I just completely disregard for that because I have eggs at my house. I have lots of chickens at my house. I also have dogs. My neighbor across the street has chickens and roosters. Neighbor right beside me has the same thing down below me. So this doesn't work for me. And for this noise bylaw on a Sunday, it's crazy. I got up this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, went to work, worked till 7 o'clock tonight. Then you tell me I can't make a cut my lawn? Come on now, get real. How is this guy supposed to make a living? Am I supposed to be like Oak Bay? Have somebody come in and do it all for me? I'm not spending money on that. I'll do it myself. You find me all you want. This is just ridiculous. You know, you might as well move to Germany, I think. That's what you want to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Patty, if you could turn off the microphone, that'd be great. Councillor Shore.
I would like to propose a change to the agenda. And I recognize if we do this, we need, I think it's 4/5 to do that. But I'm wondering.
There was an opportunity at the beginning of the meeting to amend the agenda. You didn't, so since something's occurred since then that you want to change?
Yeah. I'm wondering if we could bump up 8A and 8B for discussion right now, and ideally to reflect quickly on the input that we received tonight. I do recognize that there's more out there that we will be getting over the few coming days.
Okay, so state clearly what you would like to bump up behind public participation 8.
I would like to move up. I'm sorry, I'm going to make a motion, and I'm going to look to the Deputy Corporate Officer to clarify what the process is now. So I would move that agenda item 12A and 12B be moved up to the next item, and I forget exactly where we're at. It would be the new item number 4.
Yeah, that's okay. So you want to move 12A and 12B up behind public participation?
Yeah.
Council, what's your appetite for that? Where I guess what you're saying is there's people in the audience that would like to hear the deliberations.
If I have a seconder, I can.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Shooke and seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Go ahead.
Can I just ask the corporate officer if that's allowed?
Yeah.
Mr. Payette?
Yeah. Deputy Corporate Officer Hanson.
Corporate officer.
Sorry?
The corporate officer.
Oh, Mr. Payette, you would like some guidance on this? Is that right, Councillor Gray? Yeah. As far as I can see, this is a motion. It's on the table. It's something that we can consider. Is that correct, CAO Payette?
Through the chair, that's correct. You can make a motion to reallocate that agenda item to further up in the agenda if you wish. Maybe if we could just get through adoption of the minutes and the receipt of the minutes, and then maybe after that it would be more appropriate just to stay with some protocol.
Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Right after the adoption of all the minutes and receiving minutes? Okay. The seconder of the motion, did you want to speak to it?
No, I think that given the feedback we've gotten from our public this evening, this would be good to change the timeline slightly on our agenda.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else at the table want to weigh in? No? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? No one opposed. Unanimous. Go ahead. So let's go ahead with the adoption of the minutes, number 4. This is on page 33 of your agenda. And for participants in the gallery, we're a little slower because we've moved from paper to online. So be patient with us. Okay, so we've got the adoption of the minutes from March 2nd, the regular council meeting. Could I have a mover for adoption?
I'll move adoption.
Moved by Councillor Gray, second by Councillor Donaldson. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have receipt of minutes from March 5th, the Special Finance Committee budget meeting. Councillor Donaldson.
Move to receive.
Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. We have the March 9th Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Councillor Shore-Sooke.
Sorry, move adoption.
Yep, it's move receipt.
Oh, receipt. Thank
Yep,
you.
move receipt. Moved by Councillor Shore-Sooke, second by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have this March 18th Special Finance Committee budget meeting. Councillor Donaldson.
Move that the following minutes be received for information. March 5th, 2026 Special Finance Committee budget meeting, March 9th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting, and the March 18th, 2026 Special Finance Committee budget meeting.
This is moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shore-Sooke. All in favor? Opposed? And carried. Thank you. So before the mayor's report, we'll move now to the end of the agenda, to the bylaws, number 12. This is on page 171 of your council agenda. Let's start with the District of Metchosin Good Neighbor Bylaw 2026, number 716. Councillor Shore-Sooke.
Mayor Little, thank you very much. I do recognize that we've come here tonight and it's been prepared for us by staff for adoption. However, tonight, I think we've heard that there are some deep concerns. And I think there's also, again, poor communication on our part in terms of what some of the bylaw elements actually mean. But with all that, I would like to move that we refer this back to staff and ask them to incorporate some of the input, the input as best we can into a new version of the bylaw.
Okay, so before I take a seconder, wouldn't you like to have a discussion with council on some of those points so we could refer them to staff rather than staff wondering from the community, they said this or this, what should it come from the table?
We should have a seconder first and then discussion.
Yep, okay.
Second.
Seconder by Councillor Gray. And then, okay, so the motion's on the table. So this is to refer it back to staff. I'm just wondering, we're referring it back to staff, but it's a little open-ended what we're asking them to respond to public comments.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to have that discussion here? We could have it could we have it within this motion? No. Well, yeah, actually we could have it within this motion because it's to refer it back to staff. What are we referring back to staff? The whole bylaw for review, specific points about the noise, points about the animals, the dogs versus the animals.
Yeah.
What specifically are we talking about here?
All of the above, Mayor Little, all of the above, and also the addition of the invasive plants as well. I am moved by a comment from someone like Katie Nelson, who is a very dedicated invasive remover, and just wondering again about the larger impact that making a what do you want to call it, a prescriptive act, or sorry, a prescriptive provision in terms of invasive plants. So I think we should look at that. To be honest with you, I have heard everyone. I'm digesting, I think, what some of the specifics were, and I feel like at another night it might be better to, sorry, in all honesty, I'm having I'm digesting some of the comments that were made. So the only thing I can say is all of the points that you had raised, and there's bound to be others that will come up as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Comments, seconder, go ahead, Councillor Bray.
Yeah, I just have to say I'm pleased with the turn of events tonight. So I've got two points. One is on the bylaw itself. So at our last meeting, we went all the way. It's not so much that staff prepared the bylaw, but we asked the staff to bring it to us. And so what's happened is that if we were to adopt this tonight, most every property owner in Metchosin, in fact, I think I'll say all property owners in Metchosin would find themselves on the wrong side of the law. And I raised this at the last meeting, but couldn't get any takers to second the motion to remove that clause from the bylaw. And if we just pick the one and based on the list that was mentioned earlier tonight, the blackberries, all residents would be guilty of a bylaw violation if we pass the bylaw tonight. The district itself would be guilty of bylaw violations. All of our roadsides have got various invasives that are listed in the schedule that the bylaw pertains to. And then, as was mentioned, this would be another attack on St. Mary's Church by this council with their blackberry tea. So passing bylaws we don't intend to enforce or cannot reasonably enforce weakens our entire bylaw system. And I want to uphold our bylaws to the best of our abilities. It's a pretty common criticism of Metchosin that we're not upholding our bylaws, and the bylaws don't matter. If we were to pass this tonight, I would say it's a completely wrong turn for this council, moving to over-regulate in an inappropriate way. So that was my first point. My second point is this one, and I think it's as important as pulling this bylaw tonight. And I'm so pleased that people came out here this evening. And I think we need to pay heed. So I'm not sure that everybody knows in the audience, but I think we know that when we receive a bylaw from staff to look at it, we take a look and we can give it its first reading and say more or less that looks like what we were looking for. Then when we get to second reading, then we have the chance to make the amendments and make the changes. Once we make a third reading, then we're really done discussing the bylaw and it comes to a following meeting for adoption. I think what we've seen tonight is really good evidence that we're not getting, we're not helping the community be aware of what we're doing. So we had quite a bit of discussion about this bylaw on our own with very few people in the audience. And so therefore we've turned up with a bylaw that's got a lot of problems we heard about tonight. And it seems to me that what we're doing typically is we have our agenda, it comes out on a Thursday or a Friday before a Monday meeting, and nobody would know we're discussing a good neighbor bylaw typically, unless they're going to the website and looking up what's on the council agenda. I think we need to do a better job of letting people know well in advance what we're going to be talking about, so they know to come out, or if they can hear about it, that there be some discussion. So my hope is that we would do a better job of letting people know. I think of our strategic plan, for example. We go away privately, legally. We get together, have a discussion of the strategic plan. We bring it back here. And then in the middle of the meeting, we say, well, is there any public input on the strategic plan? And only people who heard about it on Thursday or Friday would know to come to a meeting. And when we did that the first time, only one person in the audience stood up to say anything. We have to do a better job letting people know what we're deliberating on so they can come and make their views known or be in touch with us. So I'm just speaking in favor of the motion. My 2 points were invasive species part doesn't work at all for Metchosin. And I think we heard some other issues tonight. And the second, and also people didn't hear the discussion we had, so they're not aware of some of the constraints and some of the benefits of some of the wording that's there. It has all been reviewed by lawyers in the latest language and the latest terms, but some of the updating may not well fit our community. But I'll vote in favor of the motion.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Dolan.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll also vote in favor of it. I do see that there's a good reason for us to table it, pause for thought, and do a review. What's unique about this particular bylaw is we actually are merging 3 different bylaws and maybe few extras in there, so that's what's unique. We have had open meetings, we have advertised them as we normally do for our meetings. So one of the comments was seeing sort of the progression of those changes. We had that as well. We could certainly do something similar to what we do with our budget meetings and go away with some of those questions, come back with some of those answers, and explain how we got to where we are. Certainly there are some things that that could be improved upon, deleted, or expressed differently. You know, the ammo one, I looked up a lot of different things on that one even today, and there is an exemption here. The wording is a little bit different. There's an animal bylaw that we do have, perhaps not saying dog, we could have said livestock, but it does say here, you know, other farming area, people live in ALR in accordance with farm practices protection. There's interpretations, which is what becomes a little bit technical, I guess, because it is after interpretation. So yes, we do have a little bit more work to do in explaining some of that and bringing upon what that awareness and that engagement piece is. The invasive one, I did comment on that previously, even though I voted to go forward with this. If we're not setting an example, then, you know, it's pretty hard to ask other people to do that as well. And we have had numerous educational pieces on, and that's going to be a continuum, how to work with invasives. And we do have volunteer groups and individuals in this community, including myself, who are out there doing broom bashes, etc. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile for us to revisit the input we got tonight. I think that our community has spoken clearly and been patient through the evening, and I'm glad that we're doing it. Although it's 9 o'clock now, we need to move forward and improve upon this and hopefully get more input, more satisfactory input.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree. We've heard from the residents they have multiple concerns. Some of it is that we haven't communicated well. Certainly the Good Neighbor bylaw is not meant to provide an opportunity for neighbors to be pitted against each other, or, as other people have said, ratted against. It should have many key features, and as Councillor Donaldson said, we've merged some of the antiquated bylaws into one. It has gone through a legal review, but I do see and I hear from the constituents that they have problems with this. So yeah, let's send it back to staff with those particular interests. That's fine.
Yeah, and I think you asked just what specifically. So there's the invasive clause that we heard about tonight, and then from the public we heard about the times. There's concern about the times, and we got advice about Sundays. We got advice about mowing, about noise from animals versus dogs, the notion of continuous.
Yeah, and all of that, we had considerable debate at the table after second reading regarding the times and the noises. What we were trying to do is provide some guidance to neighbors on what they could do without interfering with other neighbors' property rights and sensibilities. And as everybody knows, our bylaw process is complaint driven, not just for this proposed bylaw, for all of our bylaws. It's all complaint driven. And we're interested in those problem areas that are continuous problem areas, not necessarily, and for sure, not a patch of blueberries or blackberries on somebody's property. So we're interested in solving issues that can't be solved in simple neighbor-to-neighbor discussion, and we spend a considerable amount of our resources on bylaw enforcement. So with that,
I'll just finish my comments. So I think the notion would be to go back and look at these things, but with the idea that we want to discuss. I would disagree with you somewhat in terms of the amount of discussion we had about the items. We talked amongst ourselves, but tonight we've had a lot more input, and I think to inform our decisions, was very helpful. But what's been missed is things like we're not limiting work inside a building versus outside a building. There's issues of the definition of farming that Councillor Donaldson has touched on. So some of the changes I think that are made are explainable, but others need to be relooked at.
Yeah, sure. And we certainly didn't limit debate. There was all the time for debate at this table. I'm seeing nods to that effect. There was no cutting off of time. So, okay, so I'll call the question on sending this back to staff with specific instructions. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. So now, go ahead.
Oh, and also I would move that Chosen Ticket Information Authorization Amendment Bylaw number 717 also be returned to staff with for a further review consistent with input on the Good Neighbor Bylaw.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. We'll move back to the mayor's report. So as you know, we have 2 council meetings per month. I provide a written update once a month and a verbal update at the others. We'll start with the mayor's rise and report. On March 23rd, in camera meeting, council has appointed Charla Huber to the Healthy Communities Advisory Select Committee for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2027. So welcome, Charla Huber. Number 2, that council approved the lease agreement with the Metchosin Arts and Cultural Centre for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2027, and they've authorized the mayor and the CEO to execute the agreement on behalf of the district, subject to publication of notice in accordance with Section 24 and 26 of the Community Charter. And 3, that council approved the operating and management agreement with the Metchosin Arts and Cultural Association for a 2-year term ending December 31st, and authorize mayor and CEO to execute the agreement on behalf of the district. Okay, that's the rise and report. On to my mayor's update. This is on page, what is this? What page? Okay, that's page 57. Mr. Payette, could you ask people to leave the hallway so we can? Okay. So let's continue. So number 1, the Capital Region CRD budget highlights. As you know, the Capital Regional District and the Capital Housing District boards approved their 2026 budgets and the 2026-2030 financial plans at the board meeting of March 11th. The CRD, the CRHD, and the CRHC budgets were combined to form a consolidated budget of $932 million. Of this, the consolidated operating portions is $489 million and will pay for a wide range of regional, sub-regional, and local services for a population of over 460,000 people. The consolidated capital portion allocates $443 million of infrastructure and investment towards a wide range of projects. For the fee rates and the charge revenue for the sale and services comprises approximately half of the CRD's operating revenue. The consolidated requisition is rising to an average of 5.2% across the region, and the requisition's impacts on the average household will be increased by approximately $28.26, or 4.5%, after factoring the 2026 property assessment and the folio data. For Metchosin, this represents a 4.1, so slightly decrease from the other municipalities, a 4.1% increase, representing an average cost per household of $507. There's a link in this report. I think it's really important for all residents in Metchosin to understand what's happening at the CRD table and certainly at budget time. Number 2, the coldest night of the year. The coldest night of the year, as you may know, is a nationwide fundraising walk held annually in February in Canada. It's a family-friendly event. It's a wonderful event. It's to support people experiencing homelessness, hurt, and hunger. The coldest night of the year highlights the reality that many people in Canada and in our community face extreme winter conditions without adequate shelter and support. As in other years, I participated in the Shore-Sooke coldest night of the year event on February 28th. Remarkably, it wasn't a cold night. As other nights, it's been raining and very cold. It wasn't. It was a nice warm night. Regardless, money was raised, over $18,000 for the Shore-Sooke Shelter Society. I walked with the members of council. It was really fun, and I encourage everybody in the community to join the coldest night of the year next year. Okay, much has been said about the Westshore detachment building. So again, aging infrastructure and expanding policing needs have led the cities of Langford, Colwood, and View Royal to explore options to expand the Westshore RCMP detachment. The Westshore RCMP served the communities of Langford, Colwood, View Royal, Metchosin, Highlands, Songhees, and Esquimalt First Nation. And the big 3 communities, Langford, Colwood, and View Royal, have experienced rapid growth over the past decades, necessitating the addition of both police officers and support staff to that detachment. All 7 communities have contracted with the RCMP to provide public safety services, and we have responsibilities with that contract. Originally, this building was built in 1966, expanded in 1999. The RCMP building has reached its life expectancy. The Westshore RCMP facility, as I mentioned, is co-owned by Langford, Colwood, and View Royal. Metchosin rents space. There's never been any appetite, nor any desire to be an owner. So we will continue to rent space at that facility. The expansion project was initiated in 2019 and continues to be a collaboration between the 3 large communities with the involvement of the CRD. The CRD has 2 bylaws regarding this, one for service and one for loan authorization. So the CRD will hold the $103 million loan, and they will carry that and be owner of the building until the loan is paid off. But the CRD will not have any operational or management of that building. Colwood took a very cautious approach of late, and you've heard in the news. They hired an independent investigator to take a deep dive into the process and into the reports. Jonathan Huggett came back with his report saying the costs were reasonable, and that was the major question of Colwood's. But also importantly, he suggested some guardrails. There were 5 guardrails that he suggested be implemented in the process, and I think those are great. And all 3 councils have voted to move forward with that, with the process of building the Westshore RCMP detachment building. Recently at Hummingbird Hill in Metchosin, BC Parks Foundation hosted a celebratory event at this newly acquired 21-hectare property in Metchosin. This is being permanently protected by BC Parks Foundation. In partnership with Rocky Point Bird Observatory, the site will serve as their headquarters and as a bird sanctuary, including research, education, and community outreach activities. The Rocky Point Bird Observatory has entered into a 10-year lease agreement with BC Parks Foundation for the use of several buildings on Hummingbird Hill. The acquisition was made possible by the generous support from the Wilson 5 Foundation, Metchosin Foundation, Environment and Climate Change Canada's Nature Smart Climate Solutions Fund, and many dedicated community supporters. The property is called Hummingbird Hill, aptly so, is located between the Galloping Goose Trail, Matheson Lake, and the proposed Metchosin Wilderness Park, making it a key piece of a growing wilderness sanctuary. The Hummingbird Hill will continue to be a refuge for animals and birds so they can live undeterred and out of harm's way. Metchosin residents have contributed to this property in the form of a grant from the District of Metchosin for the relief of their municipal taxes and other levies. This is a very good news story for Metchosin. So Metchosin Seniors Association had their annual general meeting the other day. A few of us attended. It was very interesting to hear their annual report of all the activities they're doing to support seniors in our community. One of the highlights has been the Pearson College bus driven by Jeff Turner in the district to offer trips to seniors. Barrett Fullerton and others make delicious soups for seniors for a small donation. All wonderful news. As well, on the last Friday of every month, seniors are invited to join Pearson College residents and the Bahasa Association for a gathering. So the Metchosin Seniors Association is very appreciative of the former Fire Chief Dunlop, for her services and working with the new Fire Chief Dan Verdun. The president of the Metchosin Seniors Association also thanked former Councillor Sherry Epp, who was the council representative for 7 years. They have money in their coffers. They're very motivated to help with the Better at Home program. Their guest speaker was Isabel McKenzie, who became British Columbia's and Canada's first seniors advocate in 2014. She's retired, but she gave a very engaging presentation. We did have a community event for our former Fire Chief, Stephanie Dunlop. We gathered on March 15th to honor and say goodbye to Fire Chief Dunlop. An outstanding leader, passionate mentor and teacher, family member, community advocate, and everybody's best friend were among the sentiments shared with the community to describe former Fire Chief Stephanie Dunlop. She's left an indelible mark on the community, and she received many, many kind words and thanks from Chief Chips and Council members Pateman and Sawyer from Shiano First Nations, MLA Dana Lejeunesse, firefighters, emergency response volunteers, Council Shukin and myself. The organization of this event fell squarely on the shoulders of Councillor Shukin. So thank you for all of your efforts. You were supported by the firefighters as well, so we thank them as well. So it was a great event. I was glad to see so many community members of it. Royal Roads had a very interesting presentation that I attended on March 12th. There's a video out there, you can watch it. Actually, it was featuring renowned evolutionary biologist, TV presenter, and author Dr. Dan Riskin as a part of the Royal Roads Changemaker series. This was really an engaging conversation that went everywhere from bats to science to evolution and the potential to embrace AI technology. And lastly, there have been some questions regarding the Royal Bay Long-Term Care Facility and its timing on the new build. You know, from the province's austerity budget, that many of the large infrastructure projects and buildings were put on a different repacing schedule. We were originally told that Colwood would also be on this schedule of repacing or delays. We also heard at the CRD table that this was so, but then we also heard an update just last week at the CRD table that the much needed long-term care facility will be built in the Royal Bay area of Colwood within the next 2 years. So it hasn't been repaced, it is going to be on schedule. So with that, I conclude my mayor's report. We can move on to the next item, which is business arising. So on page, what is this page? On the March 9th Committee of the Whole recommendations, the Village Initiative, Advancing Child and Youth Wellbeing Across the West Shore, Shore-Sooke region. We have a motion here. Does anybody want to move it?
I'm going to move that council receive the Village Initiative Advancing Child and Youth Wellbeing across the West Shore-Sooke region documents.
Okay, so that is not the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole. That is a motion. I would prefer to go with the Committee of the Whole.
And I'll explain.
Okay.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. It's on the table. Go ahead,
This
Councillor
has
Gray.
already been discussed following the meeting Committee of the Whole. This was discussed at the Finance meeting, and we moved receipt of the document. So I just think we should follow through with the recommendation from Finance Committee.
Okay, and this actually, how does this affect healthy communities? Actually, they met. Councillor Shooken, did they not meet this last week? And did they discuss this?
They did, and there is an effort underway to look at some private fundraising. And I believe that we'll be getting more information from healthy communities as that advances in terms of the implications for Metchosen's involvement. The goal, I think, is to see about fundraising for the first year of funding and go from there. So plans are, as I'm recalling them, they're at a preliminary stage right now. So
okay,
yeah.
And as I understand, there was significant increase in interest in the community to support this.
Yeah, amongst
with
those
private funds.
For sure. Yeah, there is interest out there, and those who spoke at the Healthy Communities meeting were quite intent on seeing this work out. So, and I will say that there seemed to be consensus amongst the Healthy Communities members as well. So, those who spoke and the committee itself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Donaldson, do you wish to weigh in?
Yeah, so the way it reads here is it's to be referred to, so clearly it was already referred to the Finance Committee and to the Healthy Communities Committee, so that's already been done.
Yep, so it's been fulfilled. I'm just going to move to the Deputy Corporate Officer. Go ahead, Ms. Sansom.
If I can just clarify, this is on the agenda just retroactively, so just to ratify the motion that staff have already done. But just timing wise, the meetings took place right away, so we put them on the agendas.
Okay, so this is merely housekeeping and it's already been done?
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so we can move that motion after the motion that is on the table. Then this is to receive for information, the motion. Okay, so let's call the question. All in favor of receiving for information? Okay, if somebody'd like to move the other recommendation, please.
I'm just going to suggest we don't need to. It's already happened.
Well, we've just heard from the Deputy Corporate Officer that to complete the loop retroactively, she'd like a motion to that effect.
Oh, I didn't
You
hear
can vote
that.
against it if you wish.
So I didn't hear that. I thought it was put here. But tonight, these things have already occurred and council didn't refer them. I would just say we receive it now. It's all the work's been done. Is there a necessity? Maybe it's a necessity. That's what I'm asking.
Mayor Little, I wonder if we could ask, sorry, I was a little unclear about that. Do we need to pass, if I can ask through you,
Yeah,
DCO Hanson, do we need to pass this or should
It
we?
is just housekeeping, so if council just wants to receive for info, that's fine as well.
Great, so, okay.
Okay, so we've, did we call the question? No. Okay, call the question, all in favor? Receive for info, okay. We'll move on to the March 9th Committee of the Whole recommendations, Healthy Advisory Select Committee report to Council, Community Open House. Go ahead, Councillor Shooken.
I would move that council receive the Healthy Communities Open House report for information.
Thank you. This is moved by Councillor Shooken, seconded by Councillor Gray.
And just again, a pass on thanks to Healthy Communities for the work on this and very succinct and insightful report, and look forward to some further action on this, but it's bound to come in league with more effort, sorry, not more effort, but more work by staff. And there's a broader picture a broader plan that likely needs to be done for the school as well. So I think this will inform that plan as we move ahead.
Okay.
So.
Okay, good. See no other comments, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? No one opposed. Okay, let's move along to the March C on page 69. This is the Committee of the Whole Recommendations, District and Chosen Council 2026 priorities. We've got the priorities there listed in your on your file. We all attended the council priority session on January 30th. Councillor Shoup.
I would move that council approve the District of Chosen Council 2026 priorities.
Yeah, this is moved by Councillor Shoup, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Want to speak to this? Councillor Shoup?
I don't.
No. Councillor Donaldson?
No, thanks.
No. Okay. See no one else, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. Thank you. We have on D, March 9th, the Committee of the Whole Recommendations, Fire Hall Project Proposed Governance Model, Fire Hall Replacement Task Force Drafts Terms of Reference. We've got a motion there. Councillor Shoup.
Sure. Mayor Little, I would move that council direct staff to provide information on how to best resource additional scenario planning, community needs analysis, and an option analysis for the Fire Hall project. So moved.
Okay, second. This is moved by Councillor Shoup, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Do you wish to speak? Councillor Donaldson, go ahead. Councillor Gray.
Just want to thank Councillor Shoup for the evening he was chairing the meeting, coming up with a way to move forward on the Fire Hall. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. Moving right along to March 9th, Committee of the Whole meeting, City of Vancouver action on bright headlights. I believe this was you, Councillor Shoup.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Little. That I would move that council request the mayor write a letter to the federal government expressing council's views as stated in the Planning Committee Councillor's update on headlights and traffic safety. So moved.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Shoup. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gray? Go ahead. Maybe can you just, in a couple sentences for those who are watching, explain what this is?
Yeah, and again, in mid-January, Vancouver City Council did a few things. They passed resolutions that they would take to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities on bright headlights, and also wrote letters to the federal government where regulation of headlights actually lies, and also to ICBC as well. And I forget exactly where the ICBC connection. But basically, it is that the headlights of newer vehicles are just getting brighter and more intense, and they're causing momentary vision problems for those on the road and possibly safety issues as well. So, and as we, it was Mr. White who raised this, and so there has been local impacts as well. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody else? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now we have the March 9th Committee of the Whole recommendations on biodiversity and natural asset plans. Councillor Gray.
I move that council direct staff to review the biodiversity and natural assets draft plan and prepare recommended next steps, and that MEASC hold an open house to receive public input on the draft biodiversity and natural assets plan.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Gray, did you want to speak to this? Maybe a couple of sentences?
Yeah, the idea is to take the work that's been done by MEASC and with the input we've already received from the public, so that staff might look at things and help us with practicality and cost, feasibility, appropriate order for further consideration, policies versus bylaw approach, learning from other jurisdictions. And I'll note that some of the ideas are already in place.
Okay. Anybody else? I did note at the Committee of the Whole meeting, we discussed the players involved in the land stewardship section. I suggested that the Anglican Church and the Victoria Humane Society, both with a significant volunteer base, be added to the list. It wasn't done so, but it's not been amended. Regarding the tax policy, I think it should be, it should say could instead of should, since the organizations such as the Chosen Hall, School District 62, and other organizations may not meet this protection of forest canopy criteria. What is the criteria and who establishes and enforces this? Who does this assessment? Is it arbitrary? So I think that should be changed to a could, and suggesting the, as I suggested at the committee, the whole, that the Anglican Church and the Victoria Humane Society be added to the list. Okay. Okay, nobody else, I'll call the question with those amendments. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then Councillor Donaldson, we have the March 18th, 2026 Special Finance Committee Budget Meeting, Budget Open House.
That council directs staff to hold a budget open house on April 2nd, 2026, based on the draft 2026 to 2030 financial plan.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shooken. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we've got reports for action. We have a number of different policy updates of redundant or old policies that should be rescinded. I was wondering if I could call upon CFO Jeffrey Creek to present this to council. Thank you for your report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you noted, there are a number of old policies that were found during a recent review. Most of these were adopted back in 1991 to 97, before the district had a unionized work staff. So they're basically all covered by the collective agreement for unionized staff. And we've got a new one coming for the exempt staff as a wholesome policy rather than spread over 8 different ones. So it's just staff is recommending can rescind all of these policies. The one pointed out by the planner, PL 400.40, the district actually received a legal opinion back in 2017 saying that they can't do varying sizes on accessory buildings. That's how they've been treating it, but rather than having anybody come and say, oh, you have a policy, you should be able to do it, it's just better to rescind it, get rid of it, and not have to worry about it going forward. That's basically it. Any questions?
Yep. Yeah, Councillor Gray.
I was going to move the staff recommendation.
Okay. This is
Unless
moved by
somebody has a
Councillor
question.
Gray, seconded by Councillor Shooken. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Gray?
No, except to thank CFO Creek and the staff who worked on this. This is great to clean up these policies that are no longer relevant.
Okay, so just as a reminder, this is for long service pay, employees evaluations, promotions, disputes, leave of absence, health and safety, mandatory retirement, time off for elections, building permit fees, varying maximum size of accessory buildings. Many of those, as Mr. Creek had mentioned, are not in alignment because of the now the unionized workforce. Was there anything else that we needed to know before we move the recommendation?
Through the chair? Not really, unless you have anything specific.
Okay.
It's pretty
Okay,
bland.
not seeing any. I'll move that, or sorry, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. Thank you, Mr. Creek. Oh, I've just lost my agenda. There we go. Okay, we're on page 9, or at section 9A, page 103. This is the Westshore RCMP 2025 annual report. We receive this report every year. The recommendation is that what the Westshore RCMP annual report be received for information.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Anybody wish to speak? Yeah, with many thanks to the Westshore RCMP for their service and for the report. This is very similar to their outreach that they're doing to different communities in Colwood. I attended one at the Royal Bay High, which was based around the annual report. It was an opportunity for the new superintendent to meet members of the community and to answer questions specifically on priorities. Okay,
And I just say I look forward to receiving the information from Superintendent Gillespie about the statistics in Metchosin through the mayor,
Yeah.
so that we can provide some thoughtful input to the priority questions he was asking us earlier this evening.
Yeah, and I suspect they'll be a little bit different from what we've seen before from them, particularly with the legislation regarding illegal substances, because that will definitely affect their metrics that they're collecting. Okay, this is for receive for information. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. We've got the District Metchosin Building Inspection Department notes. This is from February of 2026. We see this monthly. I'll ask for a recommendation.
I'll move receipt.
That the Metchosin Building Inspection Department reports be received for information, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the Metchosin Public Communications Report statistics. So these are all of the reports that come into the district that are tabulated and are before us on page 151.
I'll move receipt.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Comments? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have correspondence for action. So on page 153, we have a letter from Sonia Knott, request a place a geocache in the area. So they're requesting to put a geocache outside of Morley's Meadow. The letter was written by a member of the Morley's Meadow volunteer group. Sounds like a good idea. Does anybody want the correspondence is there for your perusal? Councillor Gray.
I'll move that council approve the placement of a geocache outside the Morley's Meadow perimeter on district property located at 4450 Happy Valley Road.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Gray, second by Councillor Donaldson. Any other comments?
I just want to support the group, and I think their interest here, as stated in the correspondence, was to get more people seeing the meadow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate their volunteer efforts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have 10B, Mayor Sid Tobias sent correspondence from the town of Rio Royal requesting for an intent to join Judicial Review Coalition for provincial housing legislation updates, Bill 44, 47, 13, 15, and Private Members Bill 216.
Mayor Little, I would move that council receive the correspondence for information without further action.
Okay. This is moved by Councillor Shore-Sooke, seconded by Councillor Gray.
I have no further comments except I think the legislation around housing did not impact Metchosin as significantly as we were worrying about. We have done the work that we needed to do in terms of amending the OCP, and we are on track to have another look at housing again in 2028. So,
okay, I'm actually in favor of writing this letter in support. I know we can't afford it, but I think we could provide a letter of support. I have particular opposition to the Private Members Bill 216. We had discussed that there's significant concerns with this in terms of weakening the local government oversight over approvals, the unusual process of how this private members bill in its unusual journey to where it came to now, the lack of a mandate, who's calling for this, and what problem are we trying to solve, reducing the oversight. over development projects, the oversight from the municipalities and the lack of local voice. In fact, it bypasses local government to expedite those approvals. The authority is removed, but the responsibility is retained by the municipality. And really, what problem are we seeking to ameliorate? Are we talking about affordable housing? This is not about affordable housing. There was a request for response by January 6, 2026, of all the First Nations and municipalities, which there were many municipalities wrote in with opposition to the private members bill. 100% were in opposition. There was nobody from First Nations or municipalities overall. There was, I think, 80% in opposition and 20% with sort of in favor or immediate response. So this is included in this review that Sid Tobias wants to move forward. I don't think some of this was good for municipalities. We are a product of the province, and so as a child of the province, we have to go by their legislation. So they're giving us the responsibility, but in some of this, they're taking the authority away. And I fear this is trying to fast track development. And although it didn't affect Metchosin, as you rightly said, as much as we feared, it could in the future with this, especially the private members bill, bypassing all of the usual checks and balances in place for perusal of what's going on in the community. So that's why I would be in favor of writing a letter of support. Councillor Gray.
Can I ask, do we know the results of whether or not our MLA voted in favor of this?
I don't know that. I didn't watch.
Yeah.
Actually, it hasn't. So it hasn't completely passed. It's already gone through first and second reading, I believe. I don't know whether, I suspect everybody passes or votes for the first reading. That's a normal politeness at the legislature for the first reading. Whether our MLA voted at the second reading, I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Yeah, one of the things that concerns me is he was in touch with us as a group, inviting us to a virtual briefing with the MLA who was proposing it. And when we got the email, I think, well, a whole lot of us got it, I guess, in the CRD or perhaps just within MLA Legionessa's riding. But it looked like what it was set up for was for us to be told what was going to happen with virtually no opportunity to ask any questions. In other words, I thought, gee, this seems like a faux consultation. I prepared an email to send back to him saying that I'd read because it came to each of us individually, I'd read the MLA Anderson's briefing note. I read the proposed bill. I read the letters from a multitude of municipal leaders, all raising their concerns. I consider the basic assumptions of the bill to be completely flawed, as we discussed around this table, and that the private members bill would not be in the interest of our residents. And I wanted to ask him to do everything in his power to ensure the bill not be enacted. And I wonder if it hasn't gone forward, maybe the avenue, rather than join his judicial review, is at least to make the point to our MLA that we oppose this private members bill for the reasons that we've discussed at the table previously.
The MLA is well informed of our position because he was copied on our letter that we.
Is that why he withdrew the invitation then? The very next day before I could send my email, they withdrew the invitation and there was no consultation with us, as we all know. And I wondered why that was. I thought perhaps because he was supporting the bill. He hasn't been back to us to explain. But it was just an interesting thing. And I wonder if getting a letter from the mayor to say so would be a useful thing to do at this stage. He didn't seem to know about our opposition.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't speak to the MLA and what he knows and what he doesn't know, or how he voted. I really can't.
Yeah, you were saying that he was aware of our position. I just think that, well, I'm in favor of the motion that Councillor Shooken's put forward. But then on you having raised the issue of the importance of M216, if it's not yet been enacted, I think we should respond directly to our representative in the provincial legislature on the issue.
Okay. Okay, so our letter that was sent to Minister, the Honourable Christine Boyle, was sent on December 16th. This was specifically about the Professional Reliance Act, the Private Members Bill M216. We expressed our concerns and our oppositions, and we stated our reasons, many of which I've reiterated this evening. We requested that the provincial government pause the consideration of that private members bill, but it does look like it is proceeding towards adoption. And this is very concerning to me because of they've asked for input from municipalities, from First Nations, from the people. They've received 100% opposition from municipalities and First Nation, and 80% overall. So that is a signal that there's issues, and that they should pause. But
I'm happy to make a motion once we complete our deliberations on the motion on the table.
Okay, so what you're saying with that motion is you don't wish to participate in the legal review.
Yeah, and Mayor Little, I do get your points. I believe it would be in the best interest of the chosen to stay out of that specific thing. Okay. I get the point though about M216, so it'd be good to communicate, especially with our MLA further on that. So, okay. And thank you for writing the for writing the letter way back in December as well on this.
So Private Members Bill 216 is part of the Bill 44, 46, 47, and 13, right? It's all part of the housing initiatives of the provincial government. Okay. Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in? Okay. Yeah.
I think a follow-up is good for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? I'm opposed. Okay. Next.
So I'll make a motion that council the mayor write a letter to our local MLA to express our concerns, as explained by the mayor just now, about Bill M216.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shooken. Comments? No? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you for that.
Mayor Little, I wonder if it's just a matter of sending an email to our MLA with a copy, or with a version of the letter that you had sent in December. We've got a lot of letters to write right now, so yeah, just remind him what we had already stated. But yeah,
no problem. Okay. Did I call the question? I can't remember. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you. And then we'll move on to correspondence for information. Actually, I'll take a motion in case we have to go past 10 o'clock. Before we do that, moved by Councillor Shooken, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, correspondence for information. We have a letter from Kim Hackstad, President and CEO of the BC Council of Forest Industries. This is a request for the official endorsement of forestry is a solution. You've got the correspondence there. I think that this is a good discussion.
I'll move the correspondence be received for information.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, I think we need go no further than the letter we received from Andy McKinnon, another letter from Morgan Yates, a letter from Beth Bacon, and one from Rick Braun, which all lay out the concerns that they have that I share, and I think our council may well share too.
Okay.
And of course, just note that Joan Rosenberg spoke to this point as well. So.
Mm-hmm. No, and I agree that expediting is not the solution here. Yeah, and thank you to the constituents who wrote in. It's very helpful. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. Moving right along to 11B on page 363 of your council agenda. Everybody got to that? We've got correspondence from Rebecca Bishop, Program Officer, Local Government Program Services, UBCM 2025 Volunteer and Competent Fire Department Equipment and Training review of our application. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Shooken, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. And we've got another letter from the same author regarding UBCM 2025 Emergency Support Services Equipment and Training. This was for the November intake. Again, unfortunately, your project was not selected for funding. Take a motion to, yeah, go ahead. Moved by Councillor Shooken, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I've just got to get back to my part in the agenda here.
Mayor Little, while you're checking that, I wonder if we might hear back, not necessarily tonight, but from our staff about the question of the decontamination of washer and dryer, and if that should be in our budget, seeing as we didn't receive it through a grant. So I just want to flag it for staff because it's an important thing that we have this decontamination equipment, and I'm not sure the cost and those sorts of things, but just to get an update on that.
Yeah, see, I have the washer and dryer, the industrial size, already been purchased. Okay, we can report back on that. Okay. The other bits of correspondence for information, we have a letter from Lorraine Copas, Executive Director of Spark, Local Government Accessibility Grant Final Payment. That's on page 167, and we received the check representing the final payment for the Local Community Accessibility Grant of $5,000. Okay, that represents 20% of the final agreement amounts. Councillor Donaldson, do you want to move receipt?
Move receipt.
Moved by Councillor Donaldson, second by Councillor Shooken. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. And we have a letter from John Brewer, the Assistant Commander of the BC RCMP Core Policing, Article 9.1 and 9.2 Invocation. This is regarding policing for the FIFA World Cup 2026 and the secondment possibly of officers from the Westshore.
Move receipt.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shooken. This is informing us of this. They're not asking for our permission, they're just informing us. Okay, and the other bit of correspondence is the District of Metchosin. Okay, that's it.
Need to call a question? Sorry.
That's it, and we'll do a notice of motion at this point. On the last one, I'm sorry. I'll call the question. Sorry, this is John Brewer's, Assistant Commander John Brewer's letter around Article 9.1 and 9.2. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sorry for that. And then we've done the Good Neighbor bylaws. Next, we'll do the notice of motion.
I wonder if I can ask Ms. Barnes to come up and collect the notice motion, and I'll give it. Councillor Donaldson, maybe you can. Thanks, one to Bob. Notice of motion. Notice of motion for discussion at a later date, that a report be prepared on potential amendments to the soil deposit and removal bylaw number 402 and building bylaw 2024 number 694 that will make the provisions of bylaw number 402 fully applicable in respect of future building permits granted by the district from bylaw 694. And that external support be accessed to support staff in expediting this request.
Okay, thank you. This doesn't require a seconder. This is a notice of motion, so this motion will be considered at the next regular council meeting. Okay, and we don't have other business. If before 9:30 don't have time for question periods, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone.